This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. A huge explosion at a military base kills 20, and it starts a war of words. Sihanoukville's reputation takes another hit as yet another man is stabbed fatally. And choo-choo, it's all aboard as fast trains have arrived in the kingdom. But firstly, our headline story. 20 military personnel were killed instantly, and many others were very badly injured in an explosion at an ammunition depot that devastated a vast area. Now, this explosion was not just heard in the vicinity, but also all around the world, as it made international headlines. Here is some of a report from India, and they managed to get some video footage of the aftermath.
And this is the site of the explosion at the Cambodian military base ammunition warehouse to the west of the capital. The Cambodian military says a powerful blast occurred in a truck which was fully loaded with weaponry. At least 4 buildings have been destroyed. Villagers in the nearby areas of the military base say that the sound of the powerful blast resonated at around 2:45 p.m. local time on Saturday.
As was mentioned there in that film, it has been said that this vast explosion that killed so many was due to aging ammunition being moved. And a contributory factor as to why it detonated was the soaring temperatures that we have experienced in recent weeks. High temperatures can cause ammunition to cook off. That is a military term, meaning it gets so hot it detonates. The blast was so strong, the shockwave alone damaged 25 buildings, blowing out glass windows and decimating the roofs of many houses. Now, as the news week passed after the explosion, not all people said this was the reason for this tragic accident. As later on in the week, the former opposition leader Sam Rainsy issued a statement saying that the explosion was intentional. And he was suggesting that the explosion at the military base in Kampong Speu province was deliberate. And he said it was the beginning of armed rebellion. Which, let's face the facts, makes no sense at all. You start a rebellion by blowing up low-ranking soldiers in a base that almost nobody has heard about. Well, unsurprisingly, Rainsy was called out by many for trying to capitalise on a tragic incident that left 20 families grieving for their loved ones. There is now a review underway of ammunition, both its storage and its age, and the government has stepped in to cover the funeral costs and medical expenses of all those that were involved. Now it's time to go to our crime desk, where this week we have yet another stabbing in Sihanoukville, this time fatal. A military officer in Phnom Penh threatens his neighbour with a gun. And there's another stabbing, this time of a young woman who lied. Now, do you remember this image from last week's crime desk? It is of a Chinese man laying on the floor in a large hotel lobby after being brutally stabbed by a rival gang member. Well, this week we have the same crime in the same location as yet again there has been more stabbings. But this time, 5 men were brutally assaulted with a knife, and one of them even lost his life. Now, here is the thing about weapons. If someone pulls a gun on you, be afraid. But if someone pulls a knife on you, be very afraid, as the man with the gun is unlikely to fire. But the idiot with the knife is not only more likely to use it, but you are more likely to die. Idiots with knives always stab the vital organs, and they do not realize how very, very dangerous the weapon they hold actually is. In this incident, one Chinese man lay dead on the road and another 4 were very seriously injured. And yet again, a very dark light was shone on Sihanoukville, as it is exactly what local authorities did not want, was 2 very high-profile stabbings, one in a large hotel lobby and the other on the street, leaving a man dead. According to eyewitnesses, 2 groups of Chinese men were seen chasing each other, and then the deadly violence broke out. Police have arrested 5 men in conjunction with this incident, and they are to face charges. From stabbings by gangsters that are destroying a city's reputation to shootings in the centre of the capital city. It was late in the night, and the gunman was in fact no gangster. He was a military officer. Oh dear. He pulled out his weapon in the dead of night and started to discharge it, all because of a row with his neighbour. It is said he fired at least 5 shots in central Phnom Penh, and according to the police report, the military officer arrested was a 35-year-old Mr. Pat. What has been determined so far is the military officer got into a row with his neighbour at about 3 a.m. and it is that time that would suggest that potentially alcohol may well be involved in this incident. The neighbour and the officer's row got more and more heated, and it was then the officer went into his house and returned, brandishing a fully loaded automatic pistol. He did not only point it in the direction of his neighbour, he then started firing off rounds randomly. Locals in the neighbourhood were utterly shocked that in the dead of night, gunfire was ringing out, and quite naturally, they immediately called the police. After his arrest, the military officer was interrogated, and he will face serious charges, and his career in the armed forces is most certainly under threat. Let's go again. Let us close our crime desk with a tale of lies that led to a young lady's death. A man who brutally murdered his lover after finding out that she was in fact married. And yes, it was another stabbing. Remember what I said about knives? In this incident, a man in his rage attacked a 24-year-old woman he once loved. What triggered the frenzied assault was the attacker had just found out the woman he was so in love with was already married. Upon questioning the suspect, he stated that he and the victim had been in a relationship for more than 2 years, and he did not know that the woman had not only a husband, but she also had children. He said during their relationship, the suspect had sent her money regularly from his job in Thailand, and it may well be not so much love that triggered this vicious assault, but revenge, as he felt he had been ripped off by sending this woman money when in fact she was married and was financially secure. And he felt he had been made a fool of by a greedy woman who was much younger than he was. When he found out the woman was in fact married, he flew into a rage and he vowed to confront her. He left Thailand, and when he arrived in Cambodia, he rented a taxi and went directly to the victim's house. And when he carried a large knife there, his intentions were already planned. A violent row broke out, and he plunged that knife repeatedly into the young woman's body. She fell, and she died where she lay. The assailant is now in police custody, awaiting a court date. Now let's get away from the gunfire and the stabbings and end this week with something very interesting, and it's something I really love, which is trains. I have no idea why I like them so. I should in fact hate them, as I had to take 6 trains a day just to go to school. And I went to school 6 days a week. Believe me, it was hell. But strangely, I still love trains. So I was delighted to see that 11 high-speed locomotives have arrived at Sihanoukville. And hopefully they haven't been stabbed. The high-speed Japanese passenger trains were ordered by Royal Railways of Cambodia. And now you can see these beauties on your screen. And what they are is in fact a game changer, as they can run at a speed of 110 kilometers per hour. And these trains show some very forward thinking. And that is to get a mass transit system in operation before we all drown in cars. Just think of America, who very much invested in roads, then roads, and after that was done, they went on to build more roads. Where in London, England, it was the Victorians that did the impossible and built an underground railway to reduce road traffic. Now that underground rail system today carries an amazing, wait for it, it carries well over 1 billion passengers per year. Crikey. That's just the underground. The buses of London carry another 2 billion passengers per year. That is 3 billion just in London. And then there's the overland trains as well. Now just imagine if those Victorians went with the American route and thought that more roads were the answer to an exploding city. It would be chaos. And it seems Cambodia has the same reasoning. The first high-speed line is the Phnom Penh Poipet Railway, which will in fact be the very first high-speed railway in Cambodia. It is 382 kilometers long and costs a whopping $4 billion. And it will take 4 years to build. Now, that is a lot of money. But you go to a freeway in Los Angeles on a Friday afternoon, as I have done. And trust me when I tell you, Chris Rea was right when he sung, "This is the road to hell." It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. Here we are at the end of the show with the jolly old weather, and it's time to give Google a quick round of applause for stating the bleeding obvious. Yay! Because, look, they've got to this habit. See in the bottom left-hand corner, they point out things like excessive heat when it hits 37 degrees. Really? Who would have thought it? Now, what we've got is a very different picture from what we've had of late, and that is rain and even some lightning. And I can verify this is absolutely happening, because in Thailand there's quite a bit of rain. I travel a lot filming my temples, so we've had rain, we're going to get more rain. The humidity is up towards the 90s at 88%, and the highest temperatures we're going to experience this week is an incredible 37.